Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. On this video, I'll be explaining the project DeHive. I'll go over what they do, their value proposition, what they're trying to bring to the market basically, and hopefully what they could do a little bit better before giving my price prediction and concluding everything. What is DeHive? What do they do? What are their services? DeHive in their white paper is a decentralized crypto index protocol, and that basically means that they are a cryptocurrency ETF. They're going to be selecting the best out of each sector, regrouping them and selling portion of that to people. And to make the example a little bit more clear, it's just like if you wanted to take a fruit pie and you take strawberry, raspberry and blackberry, you mix them together in your pie, and when you sell that pie to someone, that person is going to buy a slice with all of the three fruits inside, and they haven't bought these fruits individually, they've bought them part of something bigger. And this is what an ETF or what an index is there to do. It's going to be selecting the items for you, putting them in a pie, and you just get a little bit of everything. So it's particularly useful if you don't have time or if you don't have the knowledge to go and look for everything individually. You can just say, I want to invest in DeFi. I want to find someone who already filtered it out for me, and just buy from that person, and you invest how much you want. So for example, if you have $100, it's maybe more worth it to get an index than to go $10 in each of the assets, just because it would be easier to keep track of. And if one of them goes up a lot, you'd be profiting the same amount. Okay, now I want to take your attention over something, which is their roadmap. Their roadmap is full of innovation. These are all important stuff. These are all really cool assets and services that they're going to be putting forwards in the future, and they're all coming quickly. So this means either two things. They have a big team behind it that are able to do all of this, or they're going to be delaying a bunch. Regardless, all of this seems good. It's in a correct order. It makes sense. And this is very important to me, but if they do delay stuff, I wouldn't be surprised, and I definitely wouldn't be mad at them. What they're trying to bring is very, very complicated to do, and it's very impressive. So well done to them. And if any of you guys from their community is watching this, if they do delay, it's normal. If they don't delay, you can be amazed. Now let's go over the more serious stuff. What is DeHive's value proposition? What they're doing is they're taking a bunch of assets, putting them together and telling you, hey, you should buy a portion of my pie. Why should you buy a portion of their pies and not of someone else's? What's going to be driving this decision is all of the services that are around it. And what's going to be driving the value of the token is the demand. So you have to make sure that these services are good and they make sense. Now, the first one that I really like is the control. Basically, DeHive isn't going to be delegating the authority over your money to someone else. DeFi often will be taking your tokens and giving them to someone else and saying, okay, you do whatever you want with these tokens, but you give me back the return so I can give my customer what I promised them. And this is why you have to lock your tokens, because the company that has your tokens doesn't really have them. They've been delegating that authority, and if everyone wanted to take them out at once, they just couldn't do it. So the fact that DeHive doesn't delegate that control also allows them to remove the barriers of entry and exit, so you can enter in and go out whenever you want, and this is something that you don't see very often. Now, something else that's very important is the ease of use and the risk minimization. So ease of use in the sense that they're going to be selecting the DeFi tokens or the different assets that are going to be in the bundles for you, so you don't have to go and do it yourself all the time. This saves you a lot of time, and if you're not experimented in cryptocurrency, it does probably offer a better experience or a better return than what you would have selected. Let's say that they are professional, they know what they're doing, so if you don't, it's definitely helpful to have someone to help you out with that. So the selecting of the token and the fact that they diversify makes it easier to use and a little bit less risky than, let's say, going all in into one specific token. And the security, I'm no security expert, but I've checked both of these companies out and they seem to make sense. Now, if you are going to invest in DeHive, I would check them out slightly more than I have. I'm not going to say that it's secure and I can guarantee anything, because I can't. I don't have the resources to do so. But they do seem like respected companies, and that would be enough for me. Also, you can stake DeHive, the token at least. So here we go. This is the value proposition. Control, minimizing risk, ease of use, removals of barriers of entry and exit, and the security, as well as staking. I just want to make a small parenthesis on the token allocation. Even if the page isn't correctly set, we can see that 40% of the tokens are internal to the team, and this to me is a little bit iffy. I don't like that too much. And we can see that the vesting period is also each month 10% of it is unlocked, and this seems like a lot to me, especially if most of the tokens aren't owned by investors and people that are interested in the project, but more like people who are going to be hoping for a big bump, or people that are internal to the company and they need to live. So they're going to be using these tokens and selling them, and 20% is quite a big number. So depending on the demand, it will go unnoticed, but I'd like just to make light of this before any of you guys buy. I mean, just be aware. To continue with news that isn't so good, I've decided to go over a slide of a couple of things that I would like to see improve before I personally invest in the project. So what's happening in DeHive is that they are making crypto easier, but not too much easier. And what I mean by that is most of the people who are going to be investing in an index of DeFi is going to know what they're doing, because you're not interested in DeFi if you don't know anything about cryptocurrency. Usually you're not going to be a beginner in this, so they're making crypto easier for people that know what they're doing. What I'd like to see is an incentive for people who have no clue what they're doing to join DeHive, and something that's very easy to understand, because it's not something that jumped to my eyes. It does seem like it's a quite complex sector, and I would like to see more of an amateur approach to at least some of the services. It has huge potential for high return, but it also has high risk. So both go together all the time. High risk equals high return. It's a very, very famous saying. But this is particularly true for companies that are small cap. And they are $1 million company, but I'll call them small cap because in cryptocurrency, it can go much higher, much quicker. So you do have to be aware of that. It can go very, very high. It can definitely go X100, but it can also go down to 0 if someone does it better and faster. It has very promising future plans. Like we've seen in the roadmap, the future is very promising. There are a lot of things that are going to be built, but they're not built yet. At the very moment, the services, or at least everything that they want to do, isn't implemented. So it's also a gamble, or it's a bet on their performance and their community as a whole. What you're doing is putting money in a project that can go up a lot and that can go down a lot. So expect volatility, expect some downturn if you do buy it, because it might take some more time than what they've anticipated to get all of this out, like we've seen on the roadmap. And if you do believe that on the long run there will be winners, then you should be safe to go, and it can also be a very, very good investment. They have a small community, or small-ish community, and it's Telegram focused. Now, the Telegram focus is something that really does bug me, because I don't believe that you can get to anywhere with Telegram. It's not a platform where 10,000 people can communicate as a community. It's like one big chat, and I just don't think that you can build that much with one big chat. I really believe that they would have to switch to something a little bit more sectored, like Discord, and I have seen them start with a Discord server, but it's quite small at the moment, and people seem to want to stay on Telegram, and this isn't really good. So you have to have a soft migration to Discord or another service like Reddit, or something that allows you to have different sections, different conversations with a lot of people. KYC. As we have seen, DeHive is decentralized, which also means that there is no KYC. We have seen that no KYC projects are being hit on by the United States quite hard, notably Uniswap this last month or two, and it's probably not going to go better in the future. No KYC money owning isn't something that's very, very safe at the moment, and I would definitely wait for the laws to be a little bit clearer, a little bit less gray, before putting my money in something that still is KYC free. But it can also be very, very good if they manage to sneak between the SEC's fingers, so it's something to be considered, but doesn't have to be a no-go either. And also, it's quite evil, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the logo. I think it's a little bit messy. It's not the shape of it, it's more like the coloring. You guys can leave me a comment if you agree or not. Maybe I'm just being straight up mean, but it looks a little bit messy to me, and if you want people to invest money in your company and the first thing they see is a messy, colorful logo, I don't think it's very, very incentivizing. So these are all of the things that I would want to see improve on that company before investing my personal money there. Now, for the stuff that interests you guys, the potential reach of the project is enormous. As I've said, this is $1 million company and it's quite small for cryptocurrency. It can go a lot higher, but it can also go a lot lower. As you guys wouldn't like if I would just say it can go to 100 and it can go to 0, I've set my own target at 5 and I've put 10 and 25 below. This is important to me because what we see here is that the token isn't having much demand. Not many people are joining in. This might be led to the issues that I've mentioned before. This might be something else that I'm not aware of, but definitely we've seen that the graph doesn't look so good at this very moment. It might be a hidden gem as well. It has gone up to 7, it's now at 1, so it can also just go back there, and that's a great investment already. So why are my targets like this? 5 is a level that I'd like to see it because it's after a big spike and just before another one, and they haven't been able to stabilize here. If you see, it went right through 5, right below, and then it's went just straight up to 7. I'd like to see them stabilizing around 5 and just having enough interest so that people stay in the project for longer. Right here you see this is a slow bleed, and this is due to people losing faith, because I don't know if nothing was happening. I don't know if it's also the market that's led like that made it bleed that much. But here and here and here, you see just people that are saying, okay, I've been holding that position for long enough, and now I'm just going to sell because before it just goes down to 0, because this is quite constant, it's quite regular, and it's not really good looking. So this is why I'd like to see them stabilizing at something a little bit more interesting than $1 at a 1 million cap. But there is a lot of potential, and if they can stabilize at 5, I'd love to see them stabilize at 10 and at 25, because if you're able to stabilize at 5, it does mean that you have grown a certain amount. And doubling a company that's worth $1 million isn't that much of an ask if they're really managing to bring the service that they're trying to bring. Or at least this is something I believe. I think it's a very fruitful sector if you can do it right. So here's what I'd like. I'd like it to stabilize at 5, get something big out, stabilize at 10, get something big out, and then when it gets to 25, if it gets to 25, it's a little bit of either make it go really, really high, either never hear of the project again. It's not going to be a slow grind up. At that point, if you have that much stuff that's ready and you're not able to keep up the price or keep up the demand, you're just going to be losing interest, and they're going to go to another service that's offering the same thing but better, which is something that might be happening. If they're reaching 25, it's not going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be in a competitive market. So this is why I put little arrows on the side of it. At 25, I'm imagining a competitive market with different alternatives and substitutes, and people would either stick with DeHive and come to DeHive from these other projects, or they would go away from DeHive on other projects, and one of these other projects will be the one that takes most of the market share. Now for my little conclusion, geographically, as it's cryptocurrency, it can go anywhere on the planet, it's up always. Demographically, psychographically, and behaviorally, I put a yellow line because it is investing into ETFs, and this isn't always interesting to people. The people that are going to be using ETFs are people that aren't necessarily passionate about the whole market. They aren't going to go to each and every detail of each and every company they're invested in. It's to save up time. And this means that they're basically looking to make a bit more money than someone who would invest in the project directly. It's the same concept in stocks with ETFs. When you buy an ETF, it's because you don't have the necessary knowledge or will or time to go into each individual stock. So you're just going to buy the S&P 500, for example, so you just profit of the whole market's growth. It's a great idea. It will hopefully go up, and it will probably profit with the market if everything is okay regulatory and legislatively speaking. But it's not green in the sense that often I will put the green arrows up on everything if it's related to video games, and at the moment they aren't doing that yet. Demographically, it might be a little bit higher than the others because they might attract people that aren't that into cryptocurrency but that want to dip their fingers in it anyway. And as I was saying, if they manage to get that sort of amateur interest, they might be able to hit a target that's quite interesting for them. I believe at least. So this is my conclusion. Remember that this is a project that a beautiful community member submitted to me. So if you do want me to review one of the projects that you like, I can do it for sure. And I won't ask you anything for it, but I will be perfectly honest. So if it's good or bad, I'll be saying if it's good or bad. I'll be giving tips. And here we go. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned. If you're from the DeHive community, I hope you stick with your project. It does look really promising. I will be keeping a close eye on it. If you have got any questions, do send them to me, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Cheers everyone.